Vincent Price, a post-apocalypse setting, and vampire zombies. What more do you need? The Last Man on Earth from 1964 is just amazing. It is a bleak, dreary, black and white film in which Vincent Price plays this character, Dr. Robert Morgan, and he is the last man on Earth. And man, does he seem just weary and broken about it. Basically, his daily routine is to wake up, make coffee, radio to see if anyone is out there listening, step outside, find dead bodies, bring them to a pit to burn them, scavenge for groceries and supplies, kill a few zombies, rinse and repeat. And then each night, as the sun has set, he's got his house all covered with mirrors and garlic. He has to listen to the moaning and taunting of mysterious vampire zombie creatures outside. Yeah, he's got a pretty rough life, and we've established in the film that this has been going on for 3 years. He's been alone dealing with this day after day. And I love seeing Vincent Price, this horror icon, in this role, so full of that despair and hopelessness. And his voiceover reveals that he's been going through this routine day after day. I love seeing this horror icon, Vincent Price, in this role, so full of despair and hopelessness. And his voiceover reveals that this has been going on for years, that he's been alone, and you can just hear how tired and defeated he sounds in his voice. I mean, I can't personally understand how anyone could keep going, doing this day after day for, say, a few weeks, let alone 3 years, in conditions like that. But he sticks to his routine. His house we see as a mess of supplies and wires to his generators, and it's the habitat of a man who just doesn't care. And yeah, a big part of his routine is to seek out these sleeping vampire zombie creatures and drive a stake into them. And each night, more of these zombies appear at his door, staggering around his house, and apparently, to make it even more creepy, they know his name. The one zombie who shows up every night, he's like, "Morgan, come out." That right there is pretty darn creepy. So Morgan goes to a mausoleum, he lights some candles for a vigil, and while he's there, manages to fall asleep. Bad move, buddy. He wakes up, the sun is already set, and he's got to get home fast because the zombies come out at night. So he rushes home, fights his way through them, and he gets all locked up nice and safe. And right off the bat, I'm noticing similarities to the 2 sequels of this, and I'll get to this at the end of the review. They're based on this novel from 1954 by Richard Matheson, and they spawned a couple additional films. In 1971, there was The Omega Man with Charlton Heston, and also I Am Legend from 2007 with Will Smith. A film I really enjoyed, and I'll probably review both of these in the future. But in just a minute, I'll get to the merits of all 3 of these. Back to the review. Morgan has fought his way back home, he's settled back in, and he spends some time watching old home movies when he finally breaks down and loses it. You really start to feel sorry for the guy at this point. And it's so cool. With Vincent Price, I think of this iconic, maniacal laughing bad guy, somebody who hosts a haunted house or something like that. It's so cool to see him in this different role, as he is this survivor, hanging in there, trying to keep his wits and his sanity. And it's hard enough to be the last man alive, even worse if you got to be pestered by these frustrating, persistent zombies always pounding at your walls. So he has this extensive flashback. We go back into the past, we see it's a birthday party with his wife and his daughter. And we see that one of the pestering zombies that seems to come by every single night was once human, and it was Uncle Ben. And he gives this foreshadowing warning to Dr. Morgan that there is a new virus spreading globally. Global pandemic, wonder what that's like. Anyhow, later in the flashback, Morgan's wife and daughter are sick, but he remains unaffected for some reason. And we see things like the military coming in, they're taking away bodies from people to take them away to burn them. Pandemic is creepy. It's even creepier when the military gets involved and starts taking bodies away to destroy them. So even Ben is starting to get paranoid and he just locks himself in his home and orders Morgan to go away. Soon, Morgan's family dies from the disease, and when he's unable to bury his own daughter, he later insists on burying his wife by himself. Well, he's having a drink later at home all alone, and there's a pretty creepy scene as someone comes to the door and says, "Morgan," and the door handle starts turning. Oh man, very awesome scene, very creepy too. And you know, I love these old horror films where they can tell a creepy story without needing to be overly gory in your face. That's an awesome scene. I can't do justice to it, but when he answers the door, well, you know what to expect. So the flashback is over. We're back in the present time. The zombies are ripping apart his car outside, and you know, you think that Morgan's had it. He's always got those kind of slumped shoulders and this defeated look to his face, but yet he keeps on fighting. So you think, oh no, his car's gone, what's he going to do? But he just, the next day, goes to a dealership and gets a different car. And this leads him to finding a stray doggy. And while chasing after the dog, he finds several of the zombies dead, stabbed in a different way with a metal stake. Is somebody else out there alive also? So anyhow, he catches the dog, brings it home, cleans it up, and gets it patched up. And it was funny to me that when Morgan brings in the dog, while the zombies make their nightly noises, he assures the dog, quote, "Everything's gonna be all right," which was, I think, very nicely referenced in the Will Smith 2007 version of this film by Will Smith when he's singing the Bob Marley tune to his dog. And I don't know, it was a really neat connection of the two films. The dog, alas, does not make it in this film, so he buries it, and while doing so, he discovers another survivor. It's this young woman who looks like she's straight out of a 1960s Italian movie. He brings her to his place for coffee and they talk. Her name is Ruth Collins, and she may or may not be suffering from this zombie vampire disease, as Morgan has determined that she has a aversion to garlic, which all these creatures do. They talk some, and he shares what he thinks is going on, and he also shares this little bit of detail that he has immunity to this disease himself from a bat. A bat connected to a pandemic. Wow. Anyhow, we're left wondering, who is she? Is she affected? Is she not? And this is getting close to the ending of the film, and there's kind of a cool twist that goes on, and I don't want to ruin it for you, so go check out this film for yourself. It is a great film, if with a heaviness of the themes of isolation and gloom and despair, in addition to the whole vampire zombie apocalypse story. And closing thoughts, you know, again, I love seeing Vincent Price in a role like this that's different than what I'm used to. He's not the campy evil man, but instead he's just a very genuine guy who's world-weary. He's just fighting this endless battle of despair, but yet he keeps on going. He's got that determination to keep at it. And you know, I love these films with this formula of this survival. It's the kind of thing that I stay awake at night and think about. How would you survive if it was just you alone? Beyond the basics of survival, such as food, water, shelter, how long could you last without human companionship before you start to lose your mind? Some really great questions. And there's really this cool vibe watching this film of Romero's Night of the Living Dead, which actually came out in 1968, a few years later. So this film actually predates that, with this picture of the staggering, slow-moving zombies. A lot of them are in suits and ties and stuff, and you know how they just kind of moan and come to the windows and smash them relentlessly. And these are zombies with vestiges of memories too, and I think you see hints of that in other zombie films as well. And that makes them all that more creepy. You know, when they can come to the door and they're not just moaning, but they're saying, "Morgan." You know, they know the guy's name. Now, to be fair, the film can drag a little in places, but otherwise the pacing is fine, and you really want to see what happens to Vincent Price's character. I think they filmed this in Italy, from what I've read, and he was one of the only English-speaking actors, but that's a minor detail. It didn't really affect the look of the film too much. The filming locations are great, particularly those big open areas of just emptiness. No people except for some bodies on the ground. And as I mentioned, Morgan's trashed home looks convincing. It's what you would expect for a guy just struggling to survive for 3 years alone. This film, along with Omega Man and I Am Legend, all have their own merits and enjoyable qualities. So I can't really rank one as better than the others, but this one definitely felt weightier with the theme of despair. I'd encourage you to check this one out, as well as the other two, for 3 notably different kind of visions and interpretations of how one man left alive reacts to a situation. So like in this film, with Vincent Price, it felt more like the theme of weighty despair. With Charlton Heston in Omega Man, it's more, I picked up a theme of, power and guns. And with Will Smith, it's more about raw survival with that determination to find a cure. So I love those 3 different perspectives, and at least that's my take. Go check these out for yourself. So that's my review of The Last Man on Earth. It's a great film. It's worth checking out.